Thank God for grace. Thank God for grace. Thank God for grace. There's a word. Turn to the book of Matthew. Thank you. Book of Matthew, chapter 15. Matthew 15. It's the first book in the New Testament. Go to Malachi, flip a page. There you go. Matthew 15. When you get there, go ahead and scroll down to verse 21. Matthew 15, verse 21. I'll be reading from the NASB version. Yours might be a little different. But the word says, Jesus went away from there and withdrew into the district of Tyre and Sidon. And a Canaanite woman from that region came out and began to cry out, saying, "Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is cruelly demon-possessed." But he did not answer her a word. And his disciples came and implored him, saying, "Send her away, because she keeps shouting at us." But he answered and said, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But she came and began to bow down before him, saying, "Lord, help me." And he answered and said, It's not good to take the children's bread and to throw it to the dogs." But she said, "Yes, Lord, but even the dogs feed on the crumbs which falls from the master's table." Then Jesus said to her, "O woman, your faith is great. It shall be done for you as you wish." And her daughter was healed at once. "O woman, your faith is great, and it shall be done for you as you wish." And her daughter was healed at once. For a few moments, I want to talk from the topic of, excuse me, but I need some help. Excuse me, but I need some help. I wore a jacket because I was coming to Bella Vista, but I don't like jackets. Amen. Before we get off into the work, I just want to say it's good to be home. It's good to be home. Nothing like home. Nothing like home. It's ironic that we have judges here, because when I started studying early in the week, I was studying Judges. But the Lord said go a different way. So, hi, Judges. My name is Cris Moses. Just in case you accidentally see me one day. Amen. Amen. Excuse me. I need some help. Faith is amazing. Faith is amazing. September the 15th, 2007, I married my wife. September the 16th, 2007, reality hit. I'm somebody's husband now. Man, got someone that's depending on me to do right for our family, depending on me to do the right things and go to the right places and go to work, pay bills. Amen. You know, and early on, that burden was heavy. Heavy. I felt like I had to have all of the plans in order and have everything together. Lights get cut off. Oh, y'all ain't never been there. That's okay. Some of y'all ain't never went to the water and turned it on and nothing. Okay, it's cool. It's cool. You know, there's been times I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning and the TV is blaring, and then at 6:01, the power goes off. And it used to trouble me so much. But then I realized that this is really not my problem. I can give this problem to somebody who can work it out. I've been in church all my life, and I know about faith, but it's not until you get into situations to when your faith is really tested that you realize just how important faith is. And so from that point on, people talk to me today and say, man, how do you stay so cool and nothing seems to ever bother you? It's not my problems. It ain't got nothing to do with me. As long as I do what he told me to do, he's going to take care of the rest. And so today, if you don't get anything, I want to help encourage you in your faith. I want to help deepen your faith. If you want to know what the message is about today, the general problem I see is that faith is a muscle that we don't work out properly. More specifically, I feel like sometimes we are weak and we give up when God does not honor our requests in a timely fashion. Y'all know y'all like to put God on timelines sometimes. Lord, I need you right now. Sometimes we get weak and we give up when God doesn't honor our requests. The purpose for today is I need you to know that your faith must be relentless, even when it seems like God hasn't moved. Just prior to the event, Jesus has been in debate in the earlier part of Matthew 15. Jesus has been in debate with some Pharisees about the righteousness that comes from the heart versus the righteousness or the false righteousness that comes from outward acts. And it's obvious that during the debate, they haven't really changed Jesus' mind. He immediately heads into an area that's occupied by, not by Jews, but by Gentiles. Here he comes in contact with a Canaanite woman, a mother. The Pharisees would not go into a place like this because it would make them ceremonially unclean and would prevent them from entering into certain places in the temple and would prevent them from participating in certain religious activities. This same story is detailed over in the book of Mark, chapter 7. The way that Mark writes it is that Jesus left that place and went to the vicinity of Tyre. He entered a house and did not want anyone to know it. Yet, he could not keep secret his presence. In fact, as soon as she heard about him, a woman with a little daughter who was possessed by an impure spirit came and fell at his feet. Don't miss this. Jesus goes into a ceremonially unclean area, enters an unclean house, encounters an unclean Gentile. And you would think that this might make Jesus unclean, but we are called to go into the world just like Jesus Christ did and help him spread the gospel. We We're not called to go into the world and participate in sins with those who might be lost, but to show them in words and in deeds that there's hope for the helpless, that there's rest for the weary, that there's love for the brokenhearted, that there's grace and forgiveness and mercy and healing. He'll meet you wherever you are. All you have to do is cry out to Jesus. When we meet Jesus in verse 21, he's been preaching and teaching all through Israel. And this woman comes to Jesus because there's a serious issue in her life. There's an issue that needs immediate attention. We can tell that there's a sense of urgency because when she comes to Jesus, she doesn't do a long, drawn-out prayer. You know how sometimes we do the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. You go down the 100 list of names for Jesus and try to butter Jesus up, and then you want to ask your request. No, she gets straight to the point. She has an urgent matter, and she don't have time to waste time. She has her situation is dire, so she gets straight to the point. Lord, help me. Lord, help me. The woman's daughter is demon possessed. Now, don't. The word is not to be confused with like someone who needs an exorcism, but rather that her daughter is acting in a way that is contrary to her upbringing. Her daughter is not acting right. The daughter is not living right. The daughter is doing things that are not of God. The daughter has dropped out of school. The daughter has accidentally got pregnant. Perhaps on today, it's not the daughter that's not acting right, but it's somebody on your job that's not acting right. Maybe it's someone that's at your house just not treating you right. Perhaps the person that's not acting right is the person you look at in the mirror every single day. All we can say is, Lord, help me. Her situation is urgent. But watch this. She runs into an unmoved Savior. The text says that Jesus answered her, not a word. Not a word? Think about all the stuff you know about Jesus. And she comes to him with a request, and he don't say nothing. John 1:1 says that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was with God. So how is it that the Word don't have a word for me? How is it that he can see how urgent my situation is and not have a word? If I go broke, as long as I have a word, I can make it. If I lose my job, as long as I have a word, I can make it. But in this case, Jesus doesn't even give her a word. Why is it that Jesus would not give her a word? I like to think that he has to teach us that in our desperation, he is not moved. In our desperation, he is not moved. If you brought your Bibles, John chapter 11. John 11, starting at verse 1. If you brought your Bible, you came to church, you should have brought your Bible. Amen. Stop depending on the screen all the time. Now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. So the sisters sent word to Jesus, Lord, the one you love, he's sick. When he heard this, Jesus said, this sickness will not end in death. No, it is for the glory, or it's for God's glory, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. Now, Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was for 2 more days. The one I love, sick. You know, you get that phone call on your job, such in the hospital. What's the first thing you do? Go tell boss man, I got to go, such. But Jesus says, it's all good. I'm going to stay here for 2 more days. Our urgent situations, our desperate situations, does not cause God to move as fast as you need him to. As flesh, sometimes in our desperation, we can make deadly decisions. Let one of us suddenly lose a job. Let a spouse walk out on you. Let a close loved one die. The first thing we do is we go into crisis management. We formulate plans, procedures, and start making decisions that sound good. And they look good. But they may not be good for us. And if God gave you exactly what you asked for, when you asked for it, the way you asked for it, and it didn't work out the way you felt like it should, instead of blaming yourself, you'll think that God is tripping. And I'm so glad that even though it sounded good and it looks good, God steps in and says that it may not be good for us. In your desperation, he is not moved. In your storm, he sits in the back of the boat sleeping on a pillow like nothing's been going on. Sometimes we need to stop thanking God for the doors that he opens and thank God for the doors that he closes. This woman has an urgent situation. She's run into an unmoved Savior. Now she has to deal with some unruly saints. And his disciples came and urged him, saying, send her away, for she cries after us. She's bothering us. She's shouting at us. I don't want to be messy, but ain't that just like some church people? I just want to tell the truth. The disciples portray an unfortunate reality of the church. I'm up here trying to get some help, trying to get a breakthrough, trying to get delivered, trying to get saved. I didn't come here to talk to the deacons. I didn't come here to talk to the pastor. I came to talk to Jesus. In the scriptures, the last time I checked, she wasn't talking to the disciples. She was talking to Jesus. Now I know this is the Bella Vista Church, and nobody in here is trying to put nobody out just because they come up here and don't know protocols. Just because they don't know that when you come up here, you can't shout a certain way. You can't praise a certain way. You can't sit in a certain seat because people have been sitting there the past 20 years. And if they sit somewhere different, then the praise is everything's going to be wrong. I know nobody in here does that, you know. Once you go find somewhere else, go find Jesus somewhere else. Because right now, the praise that you are trying to put out is bothering me. The disciples say, it's bothering me. Your crying is bothering me. But when I'm trying to get Jesus' attention, I don't really care if my praise bothers you. I don't really care if my faith bothers you. She comes from a place where they don't even know God. They don't know God. They don't know how great God is. But she heard about a man who possesses the possibility to affect her situation. She comes from a place where they don't even know Jesus, don't recognize his deity, but she heard about him, that he has a power that cannot be explained. And all she needs from Jesus is to speak a word, and everything will be all right. So excuse me if my faith bothers you, but this ain't got nothing to do with you. And let me take a minute to forewarn you now that if it bothers you when I'm trying to get some help, when I'm trying to get to Jesus, just wait till he brings me out. Boy, when the Lord bring me out, you might not want to be here that Sunday, because I'm going to take the roof. Woo. But he answered her and said, I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Don't miss this. He's speaking from a statement of priority. I was sent here first for the lost sheep of Israel. You're secondary. What do you do when you heard about him healing the sick, raising the dead, but when he comes to your request, he doesn't honor it? What do you do? I know I haven't lived the best life, but Lord, I need you. I haven't always done right, but Lord, I need you. I ain't always been in church, but Lord, I need you. I ain't always came to Bible study, but Lord, I need you. I ain't always listened to Praise 92.1, but Lord, I need you. What do you do when you've heard all of the great things that he's done, and when you need him the most, he doesn't honor your request? Here's where that whole conversation got interesting. Because she asked for something, she didn't get an answer. When she finally got an answer, the answer that she got, it doesn't make sense based on what she knows or has heard about him. But watch this. In the midst of a nonsense answer, she worships. They missed it. Go back. In the midst of a nonsense answer, this ain't what he's supposed to say. She worships. She runs up on Jesus and kneels before him. She reverences Jesus for who he is. The answer doesn't make sense, but she says, I know you're still holy. The answer doesn't make sense, but I know that you're still worthy of my praise. The answer doesn't make sense, but I know that you still have the power. The answer doesn't make sense, but I know that you are the only true living God. And notice that at the end, she reiterates her request. Lord, help me. But then he answered and said, it's not good to take the children's bread and to throw it to the dogs. Now, taking at face value in English, that sounds very insulting. But in Jesus' day, those who were non-Jews were called Gentiles, and they were berated and treated bad like dogs. And in this instance, Jesus is not using the word like it's like a big dog. In fact, the Greek word means that it's a puppy. It's a puppy. He's being rather tough here, I think. He says, I didn't come here for you. I came for Israel first. This is not the answer that I would expect after I didn't worship Jesus. This is not the answer I would expect after I didn't praise Jesus. Let me bring it home. This is not the answer I would expect after I paid my tithes. This is not the answer I would expect after I done ran around the church and swung from the chandeliers. This is not the answer that I would expect. There's a lesson that's being taught here. Don't miss it. It's that not only is he unmoved by your desperation, but he cannot be manipulated by your worship. Jesus has to teach us that our worship must be for real. It's time out for us as Christians to keep misusing worship. We can't use worship as a way to get our bills paid. We can't use worship as a way to get those people at our house to start acting right. We can't use worship as a way to make them people on our job go ahead and quit. Amen. Y'all know. Worship is not some type of magic stick that will turn your whole situation around. We cannot use worship to manipulate him instead of magnifying him. We need people who can boldly say that when I worship him, it's not because of what he does, it's not because of what he did, but it's simply because of who he is. We have to stop misusing worship. It must be real. It must be real. It must be real. I get tired. Hey, baby. My wife just came in. Hey, man. I told her I was going to do it. I get tired of watching the news and reading Facebook, Twitter, scrolling through the gram. All these people come to church every Sunday. But when I look at what you put out to the world, it don't really match up with the message that you keep saying on Sunday. I see people shout in church, hey, man, hallelujah, praise the Lord, he's so good. Ah. But then you cussing people out, posting pictures that nobody should see. Saying stuff that nobody should say. But I'm a child of the King. We got to stop misusing worship. I can't take the food from the children and give it to the puppies. It's not right. I came, thank you, amen. I need some hand claps. I came for Israel first. They haven't accepted me, but I came for them. I bought them grace, but they rejected it. I'm the Messiah, but they don't embrace me. But the priority is that I come for them first. It wouldn't be right to take the food from them and give it to the puppies. It's not right. Understand that Jesus is simply testing her. But how does she respond? Her faith is so amazing. I just wish that we as Christians could grab hold to this woman's faith. She looks at Jesus and says, you know what? You're right. I'm not entitled to the bread. But even the puppies eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. Watch this. Long ago, we had a dog. Name was Precious. Cute little dog. Miss that dog. No, we can't have a dog. All right. She had all the stuff that the puppy could want. You know, we go to the store and buy the good food and the food for the right diet and things like that, you know. Make sure that the coat was shiny. And take her to PetSmart. Pay for a $60 haircut. Amen. Can't have no more dogs. But when we cooked, she comes sit right at the kitchen. We go get our plates together. We sit down and eat. My little puppy. She comes sit right next to me. Watch this now. As soon as one crumb fell on the floor, she didn't look at it. She pounced right on it. I didn't fix this meal for her. I fixed the meal for my family. But Precious says that I'm not interested in that meal. I'm simply interested in the crumbs. Even though you didn't intentionally feed the puppies, they feed off the crumbs that have fallen from the table. I'm not asking you to take from your children first. I'm not asking you to take from them first. I just want some of the leftovers. I don't need the whole meal. I just need the residue of your grace because it's enough to feed me. I just need the residue of your grace and your mercy because it's enough to straighten my situation out. I just need the residue of your love because it's enough to fix my child. I just need the residue of your mercy because it's enough to make me whole again. I just need the residue of your goodness because it's sufficient for me. I just need the residue because it's enough to turn my job around. It's enough to turn my life around. It's enough to make a way out of no way. So go ahead and feed your children. But just give me the leftovers. Just give me the crumbs that falls on the floor. And everything will be all right. And sadly, it's believers in here today that would say, if you're not going to give me what I asked for, don't even worry about it. If you're not going to give me the whole bread, the whole meal, I'll just move on to the next. So why, if you want bread, should you be okay with settling for crumbs? Why, if you want bread, would you be okay with selling for crumbs? I'm so glad you asked. I'm almost done now. Back in the day, you know, they don't do this nowadays. Holidays, the family get together. You know, Christmas, Thanksgiving, meet over Big Mama's house, Grandmama's house. Ain't Pookie in them, Everybody brings something, right? But now, everybody goes here and there, and nobody gets together anymore. But, back in the day, the whole family got together. Some of y'all know, like I know, that my mama can bake some cakes. My mama can bake some cakes. All right? Now, I'm going to be honest, because we're in church. I started to call you and ask you to bake a cake. But I just went to the store and bought one. But my mama will make some cakes for the family, for the next day, for the holiday, right? And I look at the cake because I like cake. I'm going somewhere. I look at the cake because I like cake. But my mama said I can't have the cake. I'm trying to figure out, but you made the cake. We could take a slice and take the rest to the family tomorrow. But my mama said, can't have the cake. So now I'm mad because I want some cake. Whew. Cake look good. Smell good. I want some cake. But my mama said that I can't have this cake until tomorrow when we go eat dinner with the fam. But mama, I want this cake. But then that's when my mama blessed me and she didn't even know. Because my mama told me that I can't have this cake because it's for the family tomorrow. But when I put all of the eggs and butter, sugar, a little vanilla extract, gotta make a cake with vanilla extract, and I stirred it all up, and I poured it in a pan, and I filled up the pan. It was some leftovers. And so although this cake is for the family, the nice big piece of cake is for the family, I made this one. Church people don't know when to shout. I made this cake just for you. So I'm like, Mom, but I really want this cake. Why should I worry about this little piece of small cake? My mama said, because the same ingredients. This is a big cake. It's the same ingredients. This in a small cake. The same hands that made the big cake. It's the same hands that made the small cake. So while you waiting on your big cake, you ought to thank God. Woo! Woo! You ought to thank God for the small cake. While you waiting on tomorrow for Jesus to give you the big cake. While you waiting on tomorrow for Jesus to make the way, be happy with the small cake today. Be happy with the crumbs today. Be happy with what got left over today. Because the same person who made this cake is the same person that made that cake. Looks the same, tastes the same. Thank God for some crumbs. That cake was good too. You know, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that. Why be satisfied with the small stuff in life when I see God doing all this big stuff? I see such and such get a raise and a promotion, and I'm qualified too, and I didn't get that. And I see such and such get a 10-bedroom house, and I got a 4. I see such and such get a Mercedes and a Cadillac, and I got a Mazda. But God showed me though, man. That's cool to have the big cake, but just be satisfied with the small cake. Because the reality is that even though my mama made the small cake for today, when tomorrow comes, oh, y'all missed it. It's okay. It look bad right now. It looks small right now. Things look small right now. But tomorrow, the Bible says, they that wait. Tomorrow is coming. I'm really ready to go, I promise. But I want to go back to the Lazarus story real quick. Remember, Jesus stayed there for 2 days, right? He didn't come for 2 days. He stayed for 2 days. And in 2 days, Lazarus died. The sisters put in a request to Jesus. And in the midst of the request, or in the midst of waiting for the request to be filled, Lazarus dies. What do you do when you ask God for something, but while you're waiting on him to fix it, the worst possible thing happens? What do you do when the worst happens while you're waiting on God? Jesus gets to them and tells them to simply believe. It's not going to end in death. This is so that I can get some glory. So sometimes God has to give you the small stuff and let some stuff even go away. So when he bless you with the big stuff, you'll know it wasn't by your power. It wasn't because of nothing you did. It wasn't because of nothing you said. But it was only because he stepped in and made the way. Look at how God responded to this woman's faith. He was quiet. The church people tried to make her go away. He said, I didn't come for you. I can't do what you're asking me to because it's not right to take from them. They don't accept me yet, but it's not right to take from them and give it to you. But this woman's faith is so relentless. All these obstacles in her way, yet she still keeps praising and worshiping God. She's not worshiping him to fake the fraud. She's worshiping him because she knows that the only person who can solve her situation is this man named Jesus. who she heard about. Jesus says, woman, you have great faith. Y'all missed it. You have great faith. Most people would have given up by now. Most people would have said, never mind. My people, the ones who I'm dealing with, the ones who I came for, would have said, never mind. But you don't even know my name. And you say, I know that you can do it. And then he tells her that at that moment, her daughter was healed. When you work your faith out, even when it seems like God is not moving, keep praising, keep worshiping, keep getting down on your knees, keep saying, excuse me, but I need some help. Because eventually, he's going to answer. Because when he sees your faith, true faith, real faith, is going to make a move. If you want to experience the power of God in your situation, keep the faith. Money can't solve problems. You don't believe me? Watch the news. Money cannot solve problems, but your faith can. Your family might be going through some things. Torn apart, broken apart, messed up, jacked up. Your family can't solve the problem, but your faith can. Any issues that you're going through can be solved by one person and one action: God and faith. So how can we use this little old sermon in our lives? How can we walk this out? How can we apply this in real life? And then I'm done. First, remember how important it is to seek Jesus' help for others who cannot for themselves. Remember, she came to him not about her, but it was about her daughter. Sometimes we need to petition God for others. Don't be selfish. They used to have a little acronym, JOY. Jesus for praying, joy, Jesus, others, and then you. Pray for other people. Second thing, remember that genuine praise and worship plus your faith will equal a breakthrough. Genuine praise, that's the key word, genuine. You know, some people come, okay, I'm sorry. Trust Jesus, last thing, trust Jesus in spite of his silence. Your faith will make him speak volumes. You don't take nothing else away from that. Trust Jesus. Not your homegirl. Not best friend. Not the deacons. Not the pastor. Not the church. Trust Jesus. Even when it seems like he's not listening, just trust. And your faith is what will make him speak volumes. be satisfied with the crumbs. Because eventually, you're going to get the big cake. Is there anybody here who knows what it's like to live off crumbs? Anybody know what it's like? Don't fool me now. Anybody know what it's like to really live off crumbs? I'm 34, and I'd say around 31 is about the first time I just actually got to live off of a meal. About the first 30 years, I was living off crumbs. Especially when I got grown, I was definitely living off crumbs. Ooh. But when I think about what it was like to live off crumbs, when you think about what it was like to live off crumbs, think about where you were before Jesus stepped in and gave you the big cake. When you think about it, it's amazing to know where faith can take you. And if you're in here today and you're living off crumbs, keep the faith. Because eventually,